And I can tell you that modular housing, which provides a housing solution for so many families, is not a shipping container.
Well, welcome back to Moose and Loose. Today we've got not one, but two companies potentially that are under Brookfield's wing that are involved in modular housing. Are we surprised by this? I'm not surprised by this. We also got some new temperature data, which is interesting. Getting some new data that the finances in Canada are not in a great position. Let's jump into this. Starting this one off, we got this one from John Rustad, the BC Conservative leader, pointing out that the ships that are being built in China and not in Canada. I wanted to point this out. I didn't know for sure, but he's basically confirming it here. North Vancouver-based shipbuilder Seaspan did not bid on the ferries that are being built now in China. They said in September that Canadian shipyards and their supply chains cannot compete with low-wage countries that have lower employment standards, lower environmental standards, and lower safety standards. That's why Canadian shipbuilders, with Seaspan being the biggest one or one of the biggest, not bidding on that multi-billion-dollar contract to build 4 ferries in British Columbia. Surely the province knows this. David Eby knows this. He wants to bring that big contract over to his masters in China. So Canadian shipyards asked for a level playing field, then BC refused. Then BC Ferries tried to deflect by saying no Canadian shipyards applied, a thoroughly dishonest attempt to misrepresent what happened. This needs thorough investigation. This is spot on right here. This really seems what happened. BC jobs must be saved from this pathetic sellout to communists. David Eby, BC Ferries, all these cronies are selling Canadians out. These ships should be built with Canadian steel by Canadian workers in Canadian shipyards. We're supposed to be doing big projects, nation building projects, and the first one goes to China. Next up, we got Andrew Haynes with this one. Says Bank of Canada finally released its annual report late on Friday night, hoping no one would notice their losses and payment of taxpayer money to banks. The bank has an $8 billion hole in its balance sheet. Yeah, that's great. Canadian taxpayers are on the hook for over $19 billion in indemnity obligations to the Bank of Canada. Bank of Canada has also put out $6 billion in interest on reserves to banks, allowing them to increase profits at the expense of Canadian taxpayer. This is a year when the Bank of Canada lost over $3 billion. Canada's crumbling under our feet with the Liberals in power. When there's smoke in the air, you know what time it is. It's arson season. That's right. Saskatchewan wildfires found that RCMP state Cree Nation man and woman face arson charges. This kind of stuff should be like 20 years in jail, and all of your assets should be seized and sold to repay the cost of people losing their house and all that kind of stuff. When people intentionally set wildfires and being boneheads, the punishment should be very severe. Well, what kind of punishment will they receive? Probably restriction on owning matches for 1 year. Probably. Automatic life sentence. 20 years. See someone else with it. 20 years. Exactly. That's what this needs to be. And we got this graph here. It shows subpolar North Atlantic Sea surface temperatures are now below the 45-year mean. Tough times for climate scam professionals. So this is the average. This what we're looking at here is this red line. Now I can make it a little big there. You can see this yellow line here, 2024, last year. So it was a little bit high, and of course they're freaking out. This year we're now below the average mean, the dotted line here. The data doesn't lie. Our temperatures are within average of the last 45 years. Maybe our temperature's gone down because we paid so much in carbon tax the last few years. That's right. Maybe that's why that happened. Next up, we got this story going around coming from the Globe and Mail. Madame E. Homes founder Peter Gilligan to start prefab housing factory in Ontario. Now, who is this guy? He's a billionaire real estate guy. Real estate developer Peter Gilligan plans to start building a home building factory in Toronto area. The billionaire's second attempt to create a prefabricated homes business as the federal government looks to boost construction of new homes.
The Minister of Housing said he doesn't want to bring down prices for Canadians. But Speaker, Toronto residents can't afford a roof over their head. When I knocked on doors this spring, voters would tell me that they can't afford their mortgage. Or in apartments, they'd say, Roman, I can't afford my rent. It's heartbreaking. Liberal immigration policies are forcing Torontonians to spend more on their income on housing than anyone else on planet Earth. But the Prime Minister is failing Canadians and refuses to listen to this House. Speaker, when will the Prime Minister deliver a budget?
Here. The Honourable Minister of Transport.
One of the policies the Prime Minister campaigned on was building modular housing. That is a way to get more homes built faster. And we know that that by removing barriers to internal trade in our country, we can get a modular housing industry going in our country. Exactly. That is one of the solutions to the housing crisis. I hope the members opposite will be constructive and support this important legislation.
I'm sorry, but be constructive. These guys brought in the housing crisis. Now they're going to solve it with modular housing. We've got Brookfield here, and out of their side company, Brookfield Infrastructure Partners, Modular Group, bought this company back for $5 billion back in 2021. This is a European company, and considering all the European stuff we've seen going on with Rearm Europe and Mark Carney wanting to be a part of that, and not a part of what America is doing, it's just more European ties. I mean, Mark Carney's family, his wife's family, are English elites. They're essentially royalty. Mark Carney's brother, Sean Carney, is the manager for Kate and William's estate. He lives next door to them. The household of TRH, the Prince and Princess of Wales. These guys are all connected to England, royalty. We're seeing more and more of Canada getting connected to England and Europe because of Mark Carney. If we take a deeper look here at Modular Group, here's their current operations. It's Europe, China, and New Zealand, Australia. You also notice down here in the legend, you see corporate headquarters, this red star. Well, look, it's in England. It's more ties to England for Mark Carney. You got assembly facilities in multiple locations here. 2 in England, couple across Europe, Italy, 4 in Australia, 2 in New Zealand. So are we going to see Modular Group making houses here, shipping them to Canada, or will Modular Group announce a new location in Canada, then get some big, greasy, lucrative contracts from Mark Carney? So why are we talking about this guy? Well, there's some interesting information if you dig into this guy. So this is his website. You can see the logo up here, Mattamy Homes. If we look down here, here's Peter. It says CEO. He founded it in 2018 to build and hold diversified portfolio investments and business across yada, yada, yada. Mattamy Asset Management is the parent company of Mattamy Homes, which Peter founded in 1978. So he founded this in 2018, this Mattamy Asset Management. So when you come across something like this, and I don't really know what this website is, it says Brandfetch, and it's got Mattamy Homes on Brandfetch.com, but they have quite the description here. If you look into this, Mattamy Homes is a renowned Canadian home building company. It specializes in construction of residential homes, yada, yada, yada. Same thing, 1978, Peter Gilligan. So it's the same information as his website, but if you keep going down, what do you get down here? Mattamy Homes has several noteworthy subsidiaries, joint ventures, and partnerships. In 2017, the company entered into a joint venture agreement with Brookfield Asset Management, forming a partnership called Mattamy Asset Management. So you see here, 2017, if I go back to his own website, says he founded it in 2018. These numbers basically line up here. This collaboration aims to expand the company's investment in rental housing projects. So I can't verify if this is true or not, but I mean, it's on this Brandfetch website. This is quite the description written here. Why would they just make this up if this wasn't true? The dates line up. So right now, I'm not going to say this is verified information. I'll add it onto my board and put an asterisk next to it. And you can see it here. Mattamy Homes founder Peter Gilligan launches new company to build prefab housing. This lines up with exactly Mark Carney's agenda to build modular houses. Brookfield has Modular Group. Well, maybe Brookfield, it seems, is involved in Mattamy Homes as well. They have 2 companies to build prefabricated modular houses.
Mr. Speaker, my generation refuses to live in a shipping container. Oxford Economics reports yesterday that Toronto's housing market ranks among the worst in the world for affordability. At the same time, mortgage delinquency rates in Toronto are higher than at any time during the pandemic. The financial burden is suffocating the next generation of homebuyers. And history has shown us, Mr. Speaker, if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. A budget is a plan, Mr. Speaker. So my question to the Prime Minister is, when will Canadians see one?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, I've traveled all across this country. It's a huge privilege of this job, and I visited families in every riding from every walk of life, and I can tell you that modular housing, which provides a housing solution for so many families, is not a shipping container. And to speak with such demeaning tone about families that are living in a variety of different kinds of housing really indicates the kind of disrespect that the Conservative Party of Canada has for low-income Canadians and middle-income Canadians, Mr. Speaker.
It's really rich coming from her. I'm sure she has a house or 2 or 3. Meanwhile, that guy, as he says, representing his generation, doesn't want to live in a shipping container. Those modular houses are fine if it's for students, for seniors wanting to downsize, but the average Canadian family does not want to live in a small modular house. They want a house with some space, a yard, plant some fruit trees. They don't want to be in a little box. Modular housing is a component of Prime Minister Mark Carney's plan to build 500,000 homes per year by 2035, with the government earmarking $25 billion in debt and $1 billion in equity for companies building prefab homes. So something is pretty fishy around here. I think this is more likely going to be true versus not, but if anyone has any extra information on this, because this is the only source I can find, and this is a little bit weird, that's only on this Brand Fetch website.
Mr. Speaker, tents are not houses.
That's right.
The Prime Minister told us during the campaign that Canada was facing the biggest crisis of our lifetime. Well, here's a crisis. In 2015, housing costs were an average of 38% of Canadian household budgets. Today, it's overwhelming. It's 52%. Wow. A recent study found that Toronto residents spend more of their income on housing than nearly every other city in the world. We were told that the Prime Minister, well, he's the man with a plan. Canadians want to see it, and time is of the essence. When are we going to get a budget?
The Honourable Secretary of State for the Canada Revenue Agency.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, maybe the member opposite should ask himself, look in the mirror, ask his colleagues why they voted against every housing initiative we put forward over the last several years. Rapid housing.
Come on, Wayne. This guy knows full well that all those stupid Trudeau policies is what's got us into this position. He jacked immigration. He unloaded billions of dollars in housing accelerator, and it was proven. They got caught out on it. There's receipts showing that they knew it wasn't going to solve the crisis. They just did it for optics. And here they are lying again. There needs to be penalties in Parliament for lying. Outright lying, $5,000. You got to pay the penalty. Do it again, it doubles, $10,000. Just keep charging these guys for every time they lie so we get some honest politicians in this building for once.
Housing Initiative, Federal Co-Investment Fund,
Yes.
the Housing Accelerator Fund, Mr. Speaker. Their own leader told them not to support the program while the MPs themselves were trying to advocate for it. Shame on them, Mr. Speaker.
That's right.
No, shame on you for lying again, Wayne. The Housing Accelerator has built no houses. It has done nothing for the housing economy. If it was so great, where are the results? There are no results. A lot of people got money, but it's no one involved in building houses.
Well, Housing Accelerator, $4 billion, 0 homes built.
There.
But meanwhile, housing prices have doubled, rent has doubled, down payments have doubled, and people are now defaulting on their mortgages at record rates due to the disastrous inflationary spending of this Liberal government. A federal memo confirms that housing will consume 52% of the household budget this year, up from
That's awful. 52%.
38% in 2015. So they know they caused this problem. When will the government table a budget with a plan to give the hope of home ownership back to young people?
Here, here.
Conservatives came locked and loaded today, all the facts, blasting them on housing. And here we have Gregor Robertson stepping up again to say nothing.
Mr. Speaker, this government is taking action on delivering affordability, and we've done that with a tax cut for 22 million Canadians.
That's true.
We've done that
Good point.
with a cut to the GST for first-time homebuyers. We will continue to do that with actions throughout this year. And
Earlier on in this House session, they were talking about food prices, and they already pointed out that the increase in food prices already wipes out the tax cut, this little tiny tax cut, $440 a year per couple, about $200, $250 for a single person. The food prices have gone up more than that tax cut, meaning Canadians are still falling further behind.
we expect the members opposite to support this. This is a new voice. Suddenly there's concern from the Conservatives who never voted for affordable housing, never supported a single initiative on affordable housing.
Conservatives had affordable housing when they were in power. These guys create a problem, then blame the Conservatives for not voting for their draconian fixes. Something else I wanted to clear up that people keep sending to me. So we've got this one, Total Energy signed supply deal with proposed KSI Lissim's LNG project on BC coast. So this LNG project got fast-tracked. They just used a environmental survey from 2014 to fast-track this project. People have been saying Brookfield's involved with this. I've seen multiple creators talking about this. As far as I can tell, that is not true. That is AI saying that, but AI doesn't have a source for that. As you see here, Total Energies signed supply deal. Total Energies has nothing to do with Brookfield. Their only ties is that Brookfield services a couple of this company's buildings with power, but that's it. The sources people have been using shows that Brookfield mentioned that they're doing a deal with KSI Lissim's LNG project on LinkedIn, but I looked through Brookfield's LinkedIn account and could not find anything. So it's important to verify sources and not just go off of what AI is saying, because AI gets things wrong all the time. So as far as I can tell right now, Brookfield has nothing to do with this BC LNG project. If anyone has a source though that contradicts that, by all means send it to me. Next up, we got this story here. Liberal John Abbott resigning to resolve lawsuit from troubled 2021 election. It says John Abbott, the Liberal for St. John's here, is resigning from his seat to resolve lawsuit over controverted 2021 provincial election in Newfoundland and Labrador. The former Newfoundland and Labrador NDP leader Alison Coffin, who lost to Abbott by just 53 votes, alleges issues during the election, including about special ballots, resulted in her right to vote being denied. Speaking with reporters on Wednesday, Abbott said he made the decision to resign to avoid the matter going to trial, which, he said, could have brought forward more than 100 witnesses and was scheduled to begin on Monday. We determined that it was in the public's best interest for cost, time, potentially court trial, etc., that he vacate himself. This going back to 2021, during the World event, there was mail-in ballots, which, as it says here, Elections Newfoundland and Labrador acknowledges that there were errors in the administration of some of the special ballots in the general election in St. John's. As a result, unprecedented actions taken to conduct the election amidst the World event and its associated public health restrictions. This is an interesting situation because you had the Liberals in power, and by having these mail-in ballots during the World event, this works in favor for the Liberals, the incumbent who are already in power. Their base is more likely to come out and support them again, but getting new voters out to vote against the Liberals is less likely during the World event time there with mail-in ballots. So this is interesting. He's basically stepping down, doesn't want a big trial, doesn't want a bunch of witnesses. Was there some funny business going on with this election? Who knows? In other news coming from Tesla, we've got Elon Musk's Cybercab being unveiled. This is essentially a car with no steering wheel that drives people around, exactly as it sounds. So no steering wheel. You can see there's a dash there. You can watch TV or whatever, but very interesting. Only carries 2 people, looks like. At least that one. Well, that's the future. You'll just summon a car, it'll drive you around. Oh, here's a shot of a couple people inside of one. These will be especially useful in cities like Paris with many tourists and lots of small streets. Yeah, especially people don't know how to navigate them. Only in Brampton would you get this, a guy driving on the sidewalk. This is not the first time we've seen this. This is being filmed by a guy standing on the sidewalk. Wow, jail time. Impound the car for 30 days, 60 days, how about a year? Something. We need something here. You can't just drive on the sidewalk. It's unbelievable. Brampton is literally a free-for-all now. Nothing has been done to stop what's happening. Anyone else get the license plate? There's 0 consequences for criminals. Isn't that the truth?